The island of Sodor is a magical place where trains can talk. Yay. The island's #1 train is a thingy named Thomas. He has a face and it's cool. These are the effortless adventures of Thomas and his friends. This is Henry the Green Engine. He's the #3 on Sir Topham Hatt's railroad. Sometimes he gets into accidents more than the other engines, but Sir Topham Hatt always has to forgive him. One evening, Henry came back to the sheds after a day of accidents. The other engines were waiting. Late again, Henry?
Yes, after another accident.
All the engines laughed at him. Henry was so upset that he puffed away. Henry was crying. He was crying because he was upset the engines were. Then he saw Percy.
Percy, what are you doing in the field?
I don't remember. After last night's party at the China Clay Works, I can't remember my last name.
But Percy, you don't have a last name.
I thought so. Well, anyways, why were you crying?
All of the other engines were laughing at me and making fun of me because I got into a bunch of accidents.
Don't be upset, Henry. That's just in your nature. However, if your number was 13 instead of 3, it would make a lot more sense. Henry thought that Percy was being a swear word, so he left. He was heading to the mountain tunnel when he saw Toby up ahead.
Toby, what are you doing in there? Didn't you hear? There's going to be a big rainstorm and Tidmouth Sheds is already full. What rainstorm?
Just then, all over the island, it began to pour heavily with rain. It really sucked for Henry because he was stuck out and everybody else had a shed except for all the engines that didn't have a shed. Henry puffed away to find a tunnel of his own. Henry found a tunnel outside of Vickerstown, but when he puffed in, he found it was already occupied. Henry reversed to pull out the longest train of engines that he had ever seen.
What the fuck?
Remember, Henry, you can't say that. It's a kid's show.
How did all of you fit in that tunnel?
Remember, Henry, the consistency in this video makes as much sense as my
belly button.
Henry, push us back in the tunnel. We're soaking wet out here.
Oh, okay.
So Henry pushed the long line of engines back into the tunnel. Nobody asked him if he wanted to come in. Maybe because he liked to screw things up. Whatever the reason, Henry stayed out in the rain all night long. The next day, Henry and Salty were sent to the river to check on the river bridge near Wellsworth. Overnight, the mud bank had become a huge riverbed, and it all led up to the Sodor suspension bridge, which was becoming weaker and weaker every minute. Soon, Henry and Salty arrived at the bridge. The river was rising. It was rising. That's what it was doing. Henry edged onto the bridge. The rails rattled under his wheels.
Careful, laddie! This bridge isn't stable from last night's storm. Arr.
Okay, Salty, I'll be very, very careful.
On the other side of the river, Thumper was busy at work clearing rock. His chisel was moving the rock side.
Why was there a guy's hand there just a second ago? Hey, who brought back socks and sandals?
But because of Thumper's rocking, the bridge began to swivel and quiver and jiver and any other words that rhyme with jiver too. See, look, it's jivering and quivering.
Shiver.
Yeah, that too. Right?
Yeah.
the rail suddenly began to crack, and suddenly it fell.
Watch out, matey!
Henry plunged into the water. The back track was lifted up. Henry went face first into the water. Gurgled Henry. But Thumper's chaos was just beginning. Over where he was working, the giant tennis ball from episode 1 was staying. Suddenly, the giant tennis ball started to move. It rolled forward, slower and slower, but suddenly, it plunged to the bottom. The tennis ball got lodged in some rocks, but still was moving.
Look out below!
Called Thumper. The tennis ball crushed the stop sign and rumbled straight towards Henry.
Oh no!
The boulder rolled up to Henry and was projected off up onto Salty's flatbed. For some reason, the boulder and the flatbed rolled uphill with the cameraman's thumb pulling it away.
Arr! Oh no!
And the tennis ball rolled away. Man, that hand was really big, wasn't it? After minutes and minutes of trying, Henry was soon back onto the rails, thanks to Salty, and the chase was on. The tennis ball was soon diverted onto the main line, but Henry and Salty weren't far behind. Meanwhile, up the line, the engines were still hanging out in the tunnel.
Hey Ivo, wouldn't it be hilarious if something bumped into us right now? Yes.
And if it were, then it would definitely hit us right in the
belly button.
Just then, the tennis ball arrived. It jolted the engines right out of the tunnel.
What was that?
And through a use of high-tech slow-motion effects, you can clearly see how the tennis ball rolled on top of the tunnel and just made it back onto the flatbed. That was like, pretty cool, huh? Yeah, I thought so. Meanwhile, up the line, Winston, Sir Topham Hatt's track inspection vehicle, was in the works, so he was using Elizabeth instead.
You're doing very well, Elizabeth, I must say. You still haven't learned to drive properly yet, though.
Suddenly, the engines came rushing by. Look out! It's Sir Topham Hatt! Hurry up, or the boulder will crush us all! So the long line of engines, with Sir Topham Hatt and Elizabeth at the front, were chased by the tennis ball. Up ahead was the mountain tunnel, and Sir Topham Hatt would never be able to fit under it. What with all the humans on Sodor being at least 10 feet tall. Just then Henry and Salty arrived. They could see the engines being carried up the hill.
We've got this stuff to matey, but how?
What if I went to the other side of the mountain tunnel? Then I could push them back again.
Arr! What a splendid idea, but you must work quickly, Henry.
So Henry chuffed forward, the points were switched, and he diverted himself onto the parallel line. Henry rumbled up the steep slope, but Sir Topham Hatt and the others were nearing the top as well.
Save us! Save me! You're not the ones who's gonna die!
How do trains die?
Well, the only thing that can die in a train is the belly button.
Henry backed up to the front, just in time.
Just in time, Henry.
Yes, just in time. Henry, you saved the day. How can we ever thank you? Henry was very flattered.
Oh, it was nothing. What about the tennis ball?
At that very moment, the tennis ball was rolling back to its home. It had already had enough adventure for one day.
I guess everything turned out all right, eh, Henry? Now I guess I can go back to my belly button.
When Henry arrived back at the sheds that night, all the engines were silent. What courage!
What bravery!
And the courage.
I have never seen an engine with such courage as Henry.
Don't forget about all that other courage, you know? The courage.
Did someone say porridge?
And from that moment on, no one ever disrespected Henry the Green Engine ever again.